Well, the weather has taken a real turn here in Montana. Not too long ago, the horses were suffering through 50 below zero temperatures, and today it is supposed to be 50 degrees above zero. All of the snow we got over the storm is starting to melt. There is a bunch of ice built up around the barn, and it's causing all this water to drain inside the aisleway. We are supposed to have this really warm weather for a few days, and if I don't fix this, then the whole entire barn is going to be flooded. This usually happens every year, but not until about March or April. I have been renting this property for a few years, so I know how the water drains around here, and I just have to dig a few trenches to help it dissipate. Inside the barn is a giant mess right now. Since I can't use my body in the way that I usually do, there's a lot of stuff in the aisle that is getting backed up.
Buddy?
I've been chipping away at it every day, but it seems like I just don't have the strength to finish all of it. Over the last week or two, I've been cleaning out all the straw that I had in the stalls for the cold snap. This is Nigel's stall. He basically ate all of the alfalfa leaves out of his hay and left all the stems. There is still a lot of good hay in here, so I'm going to scoop it up and feed it to some of the horses outside. I really don't like any hay to go to waste, and if the barn actually does flood, this is going to be ruined. It is really starting to heat up outside. I don't even need to wear a jacket, and my fleece-lined jeans are getting a little bit hot for the weather. This dry lot is melting fast. Thankfully, the horses still have a lot of dry places to stand. The last couple days, I have been chipping away at some trenches to help this drain as it gets warmer. I know a lot of you were really worried about the horses during our Arctic blast. All of them made it through extremely well. Here's Stewie.
There's Stewie.
I am a little bit surprised all of these guys are still clean because they wanted to lay down and roll in the nasty poop water. They definitely could. Little Gus is still a bit grouchy from the bad weather, but he should come around soon. I'm not gonna lie, I was also pretty grouchy for most of the Arctic blast. And even though I have a lot to do to make sure the barn doesn't flood, the sunshine and warm weather is definitely putting me in much better spirits than I was before. This ice is rock solid, but this is the only way that the water is going to drain, so I need to chip away a little by little. I have been being very careful about the amount of work I do because I want my back to get better as quickly as possible. And I did need to use a pickaxe to get through all of this ice. It probably took me about 20 minutes, but when I was done, it looked like the water was flowing nicely out away from the barn. Hopefully after some time, maybe the water inside the barn will drain out as well and I won't have to worry about shoveling it. Unfortunately, there is water melting all over the place, especially in the horses' pens. Studman does have a dry place to stand, and I'm surprised his stall is still dry as well. Skeletor has been getting turned out in the little arena, and little by little the ice is melting in his dry lot as well. This is one of the not so glamorous parts of having horses in Montana. I'm hoping over the next couple days I'll be able to clean out some of the pens because they definitely need it. I didn't want to push it too much with my back, so I finished up for the day, fed the horses, and tucked Tiny in for the evening. The next day I came out bright and early. I could just tell that it was going to be a beautiful day. I know that winter will come around again very soon, so I wanted to soak up all the sun that I could during this warm spell. I am so grateful for this break from the terrible weather we've been having. We do have quite a bit of snow still on the ground that I'm expecting to melt in the next day or two. It is a little bit tricky to get things done even though it's so warm during the day because it is still freezing overnight, so a lot of the work that I've done the day before I have to redo the next day and hope that all the water drains faster than it freezes overnight. I think the horses could also tell that it was going to be a really nice day. Except maybe Gus. He was still a little bit grouchy. I think he just wanted extra breakfast this morning. Somebody mentioned in one of my videos that it doesn't seem like I have a lot of time to ride my horses, which is totally true, especially in the winter time. In the summertime, these horses are out on pasture, so there's a lot less for me to do and much more time for me to ride these guys. Usually during the winter, I reflect on the year that has just passed and make plans for the future. Summer will be here before I know it, and I want to make sure I'm ready. Last year when I started my YouTube channel, I told myself I was just going to test it out for a year and see how it went. I feel like this last year has given me a lot of confidence and motivation to do more with the channel in the upcoming year. I would really like to devote more time to filming for you guys and getting content out there more quickly. So behind the scenes, I've been doing some things to hopefully free up a little bit more of my time so I can actually do that in 2024. Some of my wintertime plans have definitely not went as I have expected. Skeletor is kind of in a holding pattern until we figure out a little bit more about his lameness issue. I haven't really had a lot of time to work the other horses because it's been getting so icy out. You can see here that there's ice on top and then water underneath just because it didn't freeze all the way overnight. The arena that I haul to in the wintertime is actually not open this year, which is kind of a bummer. So I'm just going to keep chipping away at each of the horses when the weather allows me to. I have noticed that Skeletor is standing more square on his bad leg. I'm probably not going to do anything with him over the winter other than observe him and do maybe some more rehab things. He has been getting to spend all day outside, which is nice because I know he can walk around pretty easily all day. But I think it's been a little bit hard on his brain not having anything to do, and he does get really disgusting every single day. I had thought about giving some of these guys baths, but it is still just a little bit too cold. I do not have any heated water at the barn, so as much as I'd like them to be really clean, it's probably not worth it right now. This afternoon is supposed to be the nicest day, probably all winter, so I'm really going to try hard to get a lot of things done. I've been trying to get this door unfrozen for a couple days, and I finally was able to push it open. Studman really has a buildup of poop in his dry lot, and I want to be able to clean some of it out while I can get back here with the four-wheeler. The trench that I dug a couple days ago has been working really well. The barn is dry and there's no flooding inside. Another thing that I've been having to deal with this year that usually I don't have to is mold on the hay. I'm not sure if I got this hay with a little bit of moisture in it or if my tarp leaked. But either way, this giant pile of hay is something that I'm not going to feed to the horses. I do plan for a bit of hay wastage each year when I buy my big stack, so I'm not going to run out. It's just kind of a bummer that that money is wasted now. I have been making some serious headway with draining these dry lots. I want to get the water out of here as quickly as I can because it will get below freezing pretty soon, and I don't want my horses to have the risk of slipping and falling on the ice. I'm not sure why, but it really isn't smelling too bad yet. In the spring, I do a few things to mitigate the smell a little bit, just so the neighbors don't get upset. This water does drain on my pastures, and I have noticed that it does make a difference into how much the grass grows in the spring. So I try really hard to disperse all of this free fertilizer that I get when it melts. I also still have my regular chores to do, so I am scrubbing all of the water tanks today and getting them really clean. This is something in the middle of winter sometimes I can't do because they are frozen to the ground. Some winters can be incredibly long, and this warm break has really made me want to get a lot of things done while I can. In between digging trenches and cleaning out the stalls, I have been doing a lot of walks around the property. It seems to really help my back, and I need to check the perimeter fences anyway. It always blows my mind how much good weather can make you really want to get out and get stuff done. During the winter, it is not super fun to be at the barn all day because it is so cold. But when spring rolls around, I'll probably be out here at the barn for 12 or more hours every day. Tiny has also been particularly sassy during this warm weather. She's been on mouse patrol most of the day and she's taking it very seriously. Although the sun is setting a little bit later every day, I never quite have enough time to get everything done. Since Studman's dry lot was not rock solid anymore, I did take this opportunity to clean it out as much as I could. It is nearly impossible when it's below freezing because the poop is so frozen. So I spent the rest of the evening cleaning out his pen. I also promised myself that I would finally get the inside of the barn cleaned. It has been driving me absolutely nuts and I've been putting it off so my back can rest, but I was feeling really good today. I got hay in all of the horses' stalls and then brought them in from turnout. There's Frisco Bill. He lets himself in most nights. I put Prim in her stall and then went to go get Studman and Skeletor. After they were tucked in their stalls for the night, I gave them their dinner and brushed them all off. I finally feel like I'm getting back to almost normal with a nice clean barn and everything is in order. I know that this warm weather won't last, but it really was a nice change from our typical winter. The horses and I still have all of February and March to get through until spring rolls around. It is wild how over the span of the last 2 weeks, the temperature difference was nearly 100 degrees. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for the next one.